Modern Tamiki Aikido is a complex and sophisticated amalgam of sport, physical education and self-defense. As such, it is a development of older martial traditions that have their origins in the bloody and violent encounters fought by Japan's samurai over many centuries. The late Kenji Tamiki, a respected and prominent exponent of Judo and Aikido, was one of the leading innovators in the conversion of the traditional fighting arts of the samurai into a new sporting form. He gave to his style of Aikido a coherence based on sound teaching principles to set up a system that is at once challenging, interesting, and most importantly, progressive. Basic skills of hand, eye, body movement, and timing are built upon to provide a core of understanding that is transferable to more complex techniques as the student progresses. The basis of training in Tamiki Aikido is a unity of kata, the formal demonstration of learnt techniques, and landori, a freestyle application of those techniques in a dynamic, sometimes competitive form. Nariyama Sensei, 7th Dan, and technical director of the All Japan Aikido Association, and one of the world's leading exponents of Aikido, worked closely with Professor Tamiki in the latter part of his life at the Shodokan Hombu in Osaka to perfect his system of training. This video is an illustration of some of that system as applied to a normal lesson in the Aikido classroom. Regi. Courtesy and etiquette are the expression of the seriousness and purpose underlying a student's practice in the dojo. The formal bowing from the kneeling or seiza position before and after each session sets the tone of respect and attention to be given between student and teacher. It is always a two-way process. Respect due from student to teacher, whose experience and knowledge can give so much, and the respect from teacher to students, who demonstrate their willingness to learn. Taiso. All training sessions in any martial art must begin with a physical warm-up for the body. Here the intention is not to exhaust the students, or to build strength and stamina, but to ensure that all the major limbs and muscle groups that will be used in practice are warmed and stretched. The exercises are designed to be gentle and not straining, to encourage mobility and flexibility rather than strength. Isometric exercises, similar to yoga practice, are often employed to encourage this vital flexibility, necessary to an art that employs many joint locking techniques. Unsoku. Many modern martial arts have their training drills that provide the opportunity to develop a command of basic skills. Movement, and particularly avoidance patterns, are central to good Aikido. Unsoku, literally foot movement, is an exercise designed to encourage a student's ability to move freely and confidently across the mat. The movements correspond to the cardinal points of the compass, forward and back, sideways and to the angles between, and are performed with sliding steps, zugiyashi, from a natural beginning posture, shizentai. The movements should be performed fluidly, with knees slightly bent, often termed soft knees, and with straight back and upright posture. On the count, the students must slide, not jump, across the mat as if in response to attack, advancing, retreating, or moving their body to the side with a crisp, economical action. Tandoku go dosa. Tandoku go dosa is a set of drills that build upon unsoku to provide training in the fundamental use of hand, arm, hip and body movement that will be used later when learning and performing Aikido techniques. The exercise is performed using the Tegatana or sword hand, with each action mirroring the patterns of movement used by Japanese swordsmen. Aikido, as an art, uses actions that correspond closely to the cutting and sweeping actions of Japanese swordplay, substituting the handblade for the sword itself. There are 5 patterns: a cutting action from basic posture, an inside and outside sweep, an inside and outside turn, a fluid hip turn, and finally a major sweep. Tegatana awase. The distance between you and your opponent is of vital importance to the practice of Aikido. You should be neither too close or too far away. If you stand too close, you run the risk of being unable to respond freely to avoid a sudden attack. If you're too far away, then it will be difficult for you to execute your techniques against your opponent. Within the Tamiki school of Aikido, the correct ma'ai, space condition, is referred to as taking distance apart. Your opponent is placed in a position that he must take one step forward to attack, and correspondingly, you must take one step forward to reply. Aikido is performed at this distance apart and employs pre-grappling techniques before you and your opponent close. In this exercise, Tegatana awase, students familiarize themselves with correct ma'ai. Shotei awase. Aikido, like other martial arts with their origins in jiu-jitsu, conforms to the principles of Ju, flexibility and gentleness. However, like judo, that is not to say it rejects the use of strength, rather that it is the ability to apply that strength where it most counts. Shotei awase attempts to develop the power of the hara, center. The pushing comes not from the arms or upper torso, but from the hips and stomach area, with the student's whole body moving forward in good posture. Tegatana awase can be extended by a neutralizing practice performed against a mock attack. The attacker, uki, throws up his hand to simulate the intention to strike a side blow to the head, or raises his knee to prepare for a kick. Immediately, Tori responds, pushing and entering into uki's space before the attack can develop. This practice is designed to encourage timing and peripheral vision, being able to respond decisively to an opponent's every move. Your eyes are an important part of your defense, and their correct use is a feature of all these exercises. They should be fixed on your opponent's face with his eyes as the center, yet not focused on a particular part. You should be able to see him from head to foot and on all sides and beyond. This exercise proves helpful in extending your vision. Neutralizing practice. An important element of Aikido is the ability to block and neutralize an opponent's attack. This exercise is performed from the soft limb shizentai position, with the hands held in gassho, the prayer form of Japanese Shinto and Buddhism. In response to attack from side blows to the head, yokomen uchi, and knee kicks, giri, tori enters in to deflect the blow or stop the kick. This practice is intended to develop awareness of central alignment, seichusen, and peripheral vision. It is important that the hands be held together and pointed directly at your opponent's eyes. This same central alignment must also be practiced using one hand to neutralize the attacks, as can be seen here. Identical hand and body movements practiced in Tandoko dosa are applied in this exercise. Shishihon no kuzushi. The breaking of an opponent's posture is the key element in the preparation before executing an Aikido technique. The Shishihon no kuzushi forms a pattern of hand and body movements that act to break an opponent's posture. Here, Nariyama Sensei demonstrates their relationship to the use of the Japanese sword, for the same sweeping movements that follow through to the center are employed. Kirikesh, the cutting action of the sword. From the high or Jodan position, first using I-gamai, regular facing posture, then gyako-gamai, taking a one-hand grip. The same balance breaking movements can be used to perform Tenkai Kodagaish, Yushiroate, and other techniques. It is important throughout to watch how Nariyama Sensei's hands react to the grabbing of his wrist. Jodan, Igame, Tenkai Kodagaish. Jodan, Igamai. Jodan, Igamai, Yushiroate. Pulling through to the center is the key to the successful outcome of the technique, as Nariyama Sensei illustrates here. Strong and positive hip movement pulls uki through. A clear understanding of kuzushi, the breaking of posture, can only be understood by the practice of these forms, both in the Shishihon no Kuzushi and in Tandoku Godosa, as Nariyama Sensei demonstrates. The cutting and sweeping actions of the sword are the basis of these techniques, and they should be performed as if using the sword. These fundamental movements apply equally to waza. Chudan, Igamai. Chudan, Igamai, Kote Mawashi. Chudan Gyaku Gamai Kota Mawashi. Chudan Aigamai Oshtaush and Chudan Gyaku Gamai Ikistaush. The same entry and sweeping movements can be applied equally to kote mawashi. Watch here. The hip turn, tentai, so vital to the performance of the techniques in Gedan, or low posture, have their origins in sword movements. It's a diagonal cut across the body. Always the reference is to the Tandoko Dosa. These same movements are used when performing Gedan, Aigami, irimi nagi, Gyaku Gamiate, Kotagaish, Gyaku Gamiate, Kotagaish.
まず最初のやつは、はい。こちらですね。こちらの方は、ここに入れたんです。次は、はい。こっちへ行けたんです。こちらは、ここです。
The movements must be deep and pulled to the center. Irimi nagi, Gyaku Gamiate, Kotagaish, Kotagaish. The hand remains open throughout. Watch closely. two techniques Nariyama Sensei demonstrates here are executed from two hands held from behind. The same sword movements used against surrounding opponents are used, turning the hips swiftly and smoothly. Yushiro ryote mochi oshi taioshi. Stausch. Yushiro ryote mochi yushiroate. Watch carefully the offering of the hand and the sweeping movement from the shishihon no kuzushi, coupled with the sliding back of the foot that pulls uki round. The hand movement is the same for Gedan and the Tandoko go dosa. The sweeping action of the hand pulls uki round. These 8 techniques, hachihon, form a complement and a demonstration of the principles of posture breaking found in the shishihon no kuzushi, translated and illustrated in action. Here, Nariyama Sensei demonstrates all 8 techniques. Sabaki no Renshu. Essential to the practice of Aikido is the ability to move freely, with speed and good timing. Sabaki is a body handling exercise where the student is able to develop his or her skills of avoidance and correct body positioning. The exercise follows the patterns of the unsoku with the addition of a movement to the rear of uki. Unlike unsoku, in this exercise against an opponent, it is essential to turn the body to face uki. Correct distance is important here, for sabaki cannot be performed if uki or tori are more than one step to contact away. or so close that they cannot avoid. Sabaki no Renshu, irimi. It is important to attack correctly. The attack must come down centrally from above the head, and as uki withdraws, the hand moves back to the belt position. This attack allows tori to respond with an entering movement, irimi, following up uki's withdrawal. Tori should aim to get as close as possible, with his shoulder side on to uki. Sabaki no Renshu, tsukuri. These exercises form a progression leading eventually to free play practice. Here, Nariyama demonstrates tsukuri, or structuring for a waza. The entering movement is followed up with the movements for igami-ate, shomen-ate, yushiru-ate, gyaku-gami-ate, shomen-ate, and Gedan-ate. This structuring exercise develops the entries and preparation of hand and body before the execution of the technique, kake. It is important to develop this entry with the shoulder turned side on, so that when the attack is delivered, maximum power and torque can be developed as the body moves back to center. This twisting action can be seen here. Not exaggerated, but moved easily into. Tori must aim to get as tight to Uki's body as possible. Aigameyate. Shomenate. Same action applied to Mayatoshi. Speed and smooth entry must be developed. Tori must aim to get as close to Uki as possible, following directly upon the attack with one fluid movement. These body twisting movements can be seen again in this sequence, as Nariyama Sensei demonstrates Kotemawashi, and Uchi Tenkai Nage from the Goshin or Koryo Daisan kata. Many variations can be developed from this irimi or entering principle. Firstly, kotagaishi. The irimi principle is here applied against a grab. Watch the conversion to kotagaishi. Against a pull. Shomenate. Munetori Katagatami from the Goshin or Daisan kata. Aikido works on these basic principles. When pulled, enter, irimi. When pushed, turn, tenkan. A major part of this lesson has demonstrated Aikido techniques and principles in relation to entering movements, but all these techniques can also be employed using turning or tenkan movements. Here Uki advances on Tori to grasp his hand, pushing it into his body. Tori responds by turning away from the push and converting Uki's momentum into oshi taioshi. These turning tactics can be used when dealing with two opponents attempting to apply a two-handed restraining hold. Watch carefully how Nariyama Sensei develops the role singly for each hand. Then these same movements applied against two opponents. Kota Mawashi and Kota Gaish. Shihonage, Gaiku Gameate, together. Nariyama Sensei now invites everyone to have a go.
どうぞ練習します。
Oh, which hand was it? Let's watch that sequence again from another angle. Washi, kata gassho. Tenkai kata gassho, shianage. Washi. Kata gassho. And held. It is as important to warm down as it is to warm up. Loosening tired muscles and relaxing the shoulders can make the translation from training to normal activity easier for the body and mind. As with the beginning, so with the end. Practice must turn full circle with the proper observance of reiki and a short moment of mokuso. Mokuso. Quiet breathing and contemplation before the training ends.